Yeah, I agree with what Abram says, but I just want to add sort of a different slant to that, which may be slightly different to US markets and European markets. And one of the critical factors that we face in not just South Africa, but in sub-Saharan Africa, is this digital divide. And we know that COVID has accelerated demand for digital services. We've got to deliver on these digital, infrastructure deployment. And I think one of the bigger questions is, how do we do that effectively? And although regulation is critical, we know that there's a component of regulation that's absolutely, critical to encourage investment. We're also concerned about overregulation. We need to encourage opportunities for operators to be slightly more flexible. There's other issues, in addition to what Abram is saying, things like duplication of infrastructure, that has to be avoided, because, it simply doesn't make business sense. And that's where, laws can come in. But I also think that there's opportunities for greater collaboration between operators to help push, broadband networks further, into lower income areas. And unlike the US and Europe, certainly we can learn from them. But unlike those areas, there are no funding available, as we sit right now. We know that government is looking at things like the Broadband Access Fund trial. Fees have been approved by Treasury, but still there has to be, at some level, some ability for operators to, exchange, to understand, and even if it's just for windows of engagement, just to understand, how we can overcome the digital divide, and how we can ensure that we connect more people, to the internet. I think, and similarly with, we collaborate closely with CISP in Europe, and I just want to touch on, GDPR. Again, when you look at the draft data and cloud policy that is out for comment in South Africa currently, it was published in 2021. One of the things that my colleagues from CISP continuously tell us is that it's the smaller guys that sort of take flack. It's they're the ones that can't implement it, whereas the larger companies have the ability to implement, some of the stringent policies that, and some of the obligations that are placed on companies, especially when it comes to data. And we've certainly seen that, with Poppy being implemented. It's always the smaller companies that are struggling to implement new policies and new guidelines. But for me, when we talk about anything around policy and regulation, we cannot remove ourselves from understanding, what the next layer of telco deployment will have to be, and how do we service those communities. And there's got to be greater efficiencies in terms of the value chain, how we do things, our ability to collaborate and talk to each other. I think I'm looking at the time, and I think I'm going to leave it there for now.